So our discussion today is going to be about the last couple, I think the last 80 pages of Dante's Inferno, as well as kind of covering the whole book. So kind of to start us off, I have a couple questions. How has Dante's character changed through the course of the book?
Alright, well, I mean, we can start by kind of addressing it how we have generally in the first two discussions, where he's in, like, you got two different instances, or two different, like, types of change, where the first is where he's, like, off his path, and he's gradually visualizing, like, what's in for him, and so he's, like, trying to become more spiritually adequate, and then the other is, like, when he's actually in hell, when you got, like, the queasy, I don't want to say weak, but, like, weak stomached, or he's not up for what's in there all the way until the end. And now you have even a new example, like where it was the man frozen in the ice, and he, like, bashed him more than he's bashed, or, like, insulted and talked to any other spirit in there, that in the ninth circle. So he's growing more, I don't want to say confident enough to
Like
where,
a hero.
yeah.
Do you not think that has to do with who he is? Not who he is, maybe the person who he was, rather than Dante is, you know what I mean?
All right,
That's contributing.
I mean, yes,
More
that
so.
it certainly contributes.
Yeah.
But at the beginning, when you see him not reacting at all, or reacting negatively to any spirit, and then it becomes to where he's discussing with them, and he's approaching them, and he's...
Because before he was much more fearful of
Yeah.
spirits around him.
So I see growth in two different ways.
The next question I have is, does this book, one of the big questions that we were covering for the epic was, what does it mean to be human? And so kind of just asking, with the book, like, does this book answer, what does it mean to be human? And then also, has your opinion of being human changed?
See, I think with the, where it kind of transfers on through, like, he's a human form, and then he's almost like a superhuman form, to then he's returning. I mean, it doesn't obviously talk very much about after he gets out, but, like, he's just going to return back to, I mean, obviously it's a trilogy, but I mean, like, he's going to be a normal human, so I think it's showing, you said something he has, like, what he has coming or something like that. You said it like that, and I think that has something to do. He's, like, fearful. He knows that he's, like, a weak human still, like, compared to, like, different kinds of, like, supernatural powers and stuff like that. I think he's still, or he newly realizes
his place.
Exactly. His, like, humanistic, like, human is above God, or like, equal to God, has, like, shrunk a little bit, and he's almost become less confident with both himself and just humans in general, and he knows that there is, like, dominating factor of his faith.
If you look at it in, like, a third grade perspective, like, it really dumbs it down a lot, but you can take into account that what he just went through is a list of what isn't a human, and so as long as you're not that,
Then it makes you more.
yeah. So obviously that was, like, the most simple approach to it, but it's still, I think it resonates some source of information.
Yeah.
Kind of to answer my own question a little bit, I think that it goes through, there's a lot of, I guess, justice served in this, but, Dante still feels bad for them. Like, he's still, like...
Yeah.
Even though they haven't come in.
Yeah, he still feels bad for them, so I almost feel like that talks about humans, maybe we do want justice for these awful things, but we also kind of feel bad for people, and,
Yeah. You
The-
still connect.
the sympathetic side.
Exactly. And the fact that they're still, like, in a human form, like, a lot of them, obviously some of them are but, like a lot of them are, like, humans being tortured in, like, fire and water and different kinds of things like that, and ice and stuff. So it still shows that, like, I think if it was a non-human figure, then it would be different in the fact that he doesn't really care about them as much as he does about humans.
It makes it more relatable, like, this could happen.
Exactly. Yeah, I think it shows him more.
Yeah.
I have a specific quote because a lot of what I did for the passage analysis was like focusing on the human question.
Yeah.
It's the first part that we're supposed to read, the 200, 300 that we have left to read. It's on page 208. It says, it is worth noting that none of these thieves is important as an individual, and in fact that very little is known of the lives of the sinners beyond the sufficient fact that they were thieves. And I think that has a lot to say with like human nature and stuff like that, because we always focus upon the act of what someone has done versus the fact of the person themselves.
That's an interesting part. It's what I just read. It's like you can do so many right things, and you can keep going and be a good person. You can do whatever like holy things are, and if you do one of the things that gets you into a different kind of area in hell, then that's it. It doesn't matter what you did. Nothing counteracts. It's one and done.
That's kind of what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Like I was picturing it like a card game, and these sins are trumped.
Exactly.
And it stops over everything, even if you've had a perfect hand.
Yeah.
You get trumped.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
There's
That's
nothing.
it.
There's nothing you can work your way out of.
Yeah.
Like
Go ahead,
the circles aren't like. Yes, they're in numerical order, but it's not. You can't work your way up
Oh, no, you're
from
stuck
8 to 1. You
Yeah.
have to stay where you're at.
Yeah. So when you read that, it kind of, like, the way I took it was more of a negative side of, but it's still really.
It seems negative, like
Yeah.
a negative, like human.
Right.
Yeah, it almost seems like because the whole book, I keep saying this, but like the whole book is like really humanist, and that's like a big focus of Dante's writing, and everybody's writing during the 1300s. But like that's almost like that's like a reversal. Like it's like you can do whatever you can. Your virtue, you can follow as many paths as you can.
But if
if
you
you
mess
do
up
one,
once,
yeah, exactly. It
that's
doesn't
it.
matter. You're done.
Yeah,
That's
Well-
interesting. It makes humans feel weak or seem weak.
I just kind of got a question based off of that. Like, it's more of a judgment thing based on what you've read. Do you think the people in there, or do you think people would be placed in a circle based on like a single, like if you, like, say there was like a poor child who lived like a virtuous life up until then, but he, like, something happened to where he felt the need to steal from somebody in order to keep living. So would he, even though he'd been virtuous, that one act, even if it was in a good purpose, would it send him to hell? Or do you think it's something that needs to be repeated unless it's an extreme offense?
You know, I think this kind of follows the maybe more Christian standpoint. So if you ask for forgiveness, then you know, but
It almost doesn't feel that strong.
It
It's
doesn't
like,
feel-
you know what I mean?
yeah.
It's not like, oh, ask for forgiveness and you're fine. Because, like, the people, they were very harsh on those last people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, no matter what you ask for, no matter if you ask for forgiveness or not, you're still not.
yeah, and
Obviously,
it's not,
if you're.
if you're Satan, you're not going to get it.
Although,
Yeah.
all the, I'm sorry.
I was just agreeing with him. You know, that feels.
All the examples that they provide, or the majority that I could tell, are like extreme cases.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
they're really high profile ones.
And that's why they're almost like celebrities.
Yeah, it doesn't
in
give
this area.
examples of like the common person.
Exactly.
So,
You've heard of all these people. I mean, you guys.
No,
You know what I mean? None of us
yeah.
have like really heard of every single one of these people, but like those are people that are like in books and like written or like
Yeah.
some kind of like.
Some of them, though, like
figure.
Jason. And
Exactly. They're people that you know of at least, and it's like, do you think that puts you back then? Like if you're one of those people, you know what I mean? Not like the common man.
Yeah. I mean, I think the more high profile either the act or you personally are, the higher chance it's done for.
Yeah,
I
that makes
have-
sense.
I have a quote on page 216 for that. It says, Virgil, on the other hand, appeals to them as a man of virtuous life, who therefore has the power over sin. So kind of that part that's
That's
in
weird that he has the power
parentheses.
over sin. I realize he's in the whatever I don't know
Yeah,
what
the
is that
first circle.
limbo
Yeah.
where all the
Yeah.
people are before God,
Yeah.
or before Christ, like that. It's like still kind of something's wrong. It's okay. But it's like weird to think that because what if our minds think you didn't believe in God because there was no faith to believe in, or you didn't believe in this kind of God, you were pagan because that was the faith that you had. But like, what if there's other ones in there that like have reasons, like that have fair reasons. You know what I mean?
Like stealing if you need to survive. Like,
Exactly. Yeah. What if these aren't actually as like strict like hypocrites and stuff like that?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That could be like I don't know.
And I
guess.
think that kind of goes back to, maybe that's
Yeah.
I think that's just
yeah,
part
there's no fine line.
and I
Also,
think there's no
Yeah.
religious beliefs.
Yeah, there's no, he doesn't stick to a strict rule. There's always things that can disqualify you for that certain sin, I guess you could say.
the first two discussions over like the first 2/3 of it, it seemed like there was a very straight way to look at like these questions so far. Like, what is a human? What does it mean to be human?
Yeah.
What does it mean to be placed in
It
hell?
seemed
Stuff like that.
literal to us, like
yeah,
what we think now.
Yeah.
And it was
But
just pretty much repeating what our thoughts are.
now after finishing this and putting it all together, it almost seems like contradict
Yeah.
in certain places.
Contradict like comes together. It's like, oh, that's what that meant. That's why that was happening.
And that quote that you pulled out, that's like I didn't look as much into that. Like that's not something that stuck out to me. But now that you say it, it's like all of a sudden his faith is saving him from sin, but they're not. It's
Yeah, I don't know. Like, especially like, I don't know, kind of going to the end of the book. Like, maybe it's just because you're supposed to read the other two books, or I don't know, because I didn't feel fulfilled.
oh no.
And I was like,
Yeah.
I was like,
See, I'd say
is that
actual
it?
content I didn't feel fulfilled, but ideas I almost did.
Well,
I don't know.
Yeah.
to be honest, I'm still trying to wrap my head around that. Like, is based on that is Virgil, even though he's a spirit, is he more human than Dante?
See, I know.
Or
Yeah.
is he less?
We in our previous discussions were like, maybe at the end, I didn't say this. I was like, maybe there's going to be this like giant reveal where there's like,
Yeah.
this is what's happening,
This
this
is
is
what's
why,
going
this is
on.
what's
Yeah.
and it's like,
nope, you walked off into the stars.
yeah.
I have another thing. It's like a huge paragraph, but based on Virgil and his like spirituality and versus him being a human, it's on page 223, and it says the whole idea of Virgil as a magician is trivial besides Dante's total concept. Virgil's power is divinely given to him by Beatrice. There we are. That is, it represents human reason informed and commanded by divine love, a reassertion of a fundamental medieval theme that reason is the handmaiden of faith. His power is God's will, and it is most clearly expressed in his God's will, or in his words to Minos. This has been willed where what is willed must be. Only with this light within it can reason exert its power of birth. So it kind of, I don't know if it contradicts the last statement, but it doesn't express it as like, because the first quote says that it's Virgil's power to.
Oh, you're saying
Yeah.
it's Virgil's power to
And then it
go
says
over
that
sin,
it's
it's
God's
God's power given him or whatever.
Yeah.
So
That makes sense. Because then that's like a humanist, whatever the opposite of humanist shit is. You know what I mean? It's like the man is stronger, Virgil's stronger at the beginning, and then it's really only.
Oh
he's
no,
only
he's
strong
just giving,
because
he's
given
submitting.
power.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right.
He's only receiving. I guess that makes sense.
So I guess that portrays Virgil as more of a human.
Yeah.
Because like if,
But he's having transformations
that-
the whole time.
He is.
but maybe it's
Translate. Could that kind of translate to Dante as he's starting to depend more, like he's starting to grow closer to his faith, like
So he's
Virgil.
less human and more.
Well, yeah, Virgil is starting to, use more maybe holy powers instead of relying on human strength.
Yeah.
So kind of maybe seeing Dante go
That's
from
fair, too.
relying on his human strength to maybe relying on God.
And another thing I just thought of was, what if going from, because Virgil's only in limbo, and that's not as strict as an area in hell. What if he needs God's like will and power once he starts going into like the more sinful areas?
Yeah.
Because he's only used to limbo and only used to that kind of in hell, but it's not
Yeah.
really because it wasn't like an accident. I couldn't do anything
Yeah.
about it. And then he gets to these people that like straight up just did it on purpose. So it's almost like he needed help once he started to reach worse and worse areas of hell.
because I thought that like when Virgil was going through these different circles and he was like shifting into more of like a spiritual figure, that was God's will for Virgil. That was not what Virgil like
Wanted to do. Yeah, I guess that's fair. Because it does say that at the beginning, or it says, "I was sent."
He was saying here,
Because like Dante respects me or whatever it was. I don't know exactly what they said, but like that was a big point that Dante only has Virgil because Dante respects Virgil, and if it wasn't Virgil, it'd be the next guy. So it's almost like it wasn't Virgil's will, it was more God's will.
So,
He had to submit to.
yeah. So kind of wrapping this up, kind of like maybe just saying what were your thoughts about the book, and then would you continue reading the other two books to get
what would you look?
ending?
What would you look to?
for? There we go.
Yeah.
What would you look for?
In the next ones.
Personally, I don't think that Miss May's gonna love this comment, but personally, I don't think I would read them. But I think I would look online and stuff like that for like answers for questions from this book that I still have, or maybe there aren't.
I wish the rest of the trilogy was about, or maybe not the rest of the trilogy, but at least I hope at the end of one of them, or at probably the last one, he goes back and looks on Earth. Or like actually in, you know what I mean? I want to know what it's like to go through that, and then I mean he's going to go through two more places that are holy and not human, and then like
come
not
back to
human.
Earth.
Exactly. See how he actually acts, because I'm almost conflicted in the idea that he's going to be better, and then he's also probably not going to be better. He might just stay the same or just return to his.
You just want to see what they portray him as, like whether his like experience has made him or quote unquote human.
Yeah.
Or if he's even exceeded that, and now he feels like
He's higher. He doesn't need this.
Or if he goes back to it.
I don't know if he
I've gone
comes
to
back
the
and feels
underworld and come
humble.
back. Yeah.
Or
There was nothing to explain
See
how
who
it
he really
changes,
is.
or
Exactly.
how it like.
It doesn't show how he's changed in the world, because at the beginning it's talking about how such an important like need for him to change in the world, not internally. Well, kind of internally, but like what he's really doing externally, like praying and being religious. So it doesn't even show that. It just shows how he's changed in the underworld.
And even still, that's like 100 or